we were talking about text mining. We'll be dealing with the text data. Text data, I mean the data which is in the form of paragraph, or you can say blogs, and those type of data. To get the application of the text mining, you can see the assistant what we have, the voice assistants with us, like the Google Assistant, right? So it is actually converting into some text, and after converted into a text, that's how they will take your model to decode. So this is a text mining, which is a part of deep learning actually, and here we use a text data. So this was all about text mining. As I was telling you, we use text data. Text data is in the form of paragraph. Okay, so we decode it like and we make it to a structure like from the unstructured data we make it to a structured format, and that's how we classify them. We do classification, we do machine learning. After this, we have deep learning also. So in deep learning, there are several algorithms. We have CNN, we have ANN, and we have RNN. So in the basics, we will be learning CNN. CNN is convolutional neural network. So this is used at a time of image recognition. So do you know what is image recognition? Just like Facebook is there, have you used Facebook? And you might have seen when you are going into a Facebook or whenever you are putting your photo in the Facebook, that will be automatically tagged with your name. Here they use this image recognition. Or whenever you open a phone, in the phone itself, you will be having a face lock. So there also image recognition is used. So this all application where you are recognizing an image, that all comes under CNN. And we have self-driving cars and all. So there we use CNN. It is actually not CNN. There we use custom CNN. You have to customize your RNN programs, not CNN, sorry, RNN. You have to customize your RNN program to get self-driving car algorithms. ANN is also artificial neural networks where you develop your own neural networks. So we will be seeing CNN and we will try to do a project in CNN. So this was all about our program. And yeah, Lakshmikant, as I told you, okay, I'll give a basic intro what we saw here. So we did Python basics. Okay, then we saw pandas. Then we saw Matplotlib for data visualization, and then we saw Seaborn. So these both were visualization, and this was for analysis. Now we are studying statistics. See, why we are studying statistics? Because it's a foundation of machine learning. So machine learning, you will be having all the statistics topics, and there will be a little bit of mathematics involved here. So statistics and probability actually is a foundation of machine learning. I told you it is algorithms and mathematics. In Python, we'll be having all single line codes of algorithms are in machine learning. But it is necessary to know what is going on behind the scenes. Even if you are going in an interview, they will be asking what is this algorithms and all, and what goes behind the algorithm. They won't be asking you about the syntaxes of Python. They won't be asking you about the pandas and the visualization of all this. They will be asking about the algorithm and what is going on behind this algorithm. Okay, and machine learning is divided with supervised learning, with unsupervised learning, and semi-supervised learning. In supervised, you will be having label data. Label in the sense the data will be grouped and it will be labeled. Suppose you have fruits. So in fruits, you will be having so many fruits: apple, banana, mango, right? So all these apple, banana, mango comes under fruits. So that's how it is grouped. So those will be supervised. Or else you can consider a teacher and a student. So teacher is teaching to a student. It's training to a student, right? So that all comes under supervised. In unsupervised, you won't be having a label data. Here you will be having unlabeled data. And here only half of the data will be labeled. So unsupervised, what it does, it will check for a pattern in the data set and it will label the data automatically after seeing a pattern. That is unsupervised. In semi-supervised, half of the data will be labeled and half of the data will not be labeled. So it will see half of the data which is labeled and it will label the data which is not labeled. So half of the data which is labeled, it will try to see the pattern in those data, and that's how it will label the data which is not labeled. So this is also known as reinforcement. And after this we will be doing deep learning, and after this we will be doing projects. So in this supervised learning and unsupervised learning, we'll be learning these two, supervised and unsupervised. In supervised, you have linear regression and classification, those all type of algorithms. So in the recording, if you see, you will be getting what are the algorithms which we will be learning. And in unsupervised, we have clustering techniques. Set techniques is used to label the data actually. So we'll see how to label the data in unsupervised and clustering technique. Okay. Now let's come to statistics. So we were doing statistics from the beginning. We saw what is statistics. So it is used. This is a branch of mathematics which deals with data organization and the data manipulation, all those things, right? And we saw some of the tools inside and some of the terminology in statistics, population, sample, parameter, and all those. You might remember these things, right? And in statistics are done in two ways. We saw that is in quantitative way and in qualitative way. So in quantitative also it is divided in two halves. One is nominal data and one is ordinal data. So nominal data and ordinal data, what is the difference? Nominal data, you have data which is not ranked. I mean, any kind of a data you can say. Any kind of data means, let me think of example. Here, the ordinal data, you will have some order. Suppose good, and we have very good, and we have excellent. So you have an order for suppose a person who is excellent, so he will get an excellent grade, right? In school, we used to get excellent grade, and we used to get very good and good. So these are in an order, or else you can say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So all these are ordinal data. Here, suppose in a nominal data, you won't be having an order here. Let me take an example here. Suppose in nominal data, you are categorizing using male, and you have female and male, like data in the form of all these types. There is no rank in this data, right? You're getting it? So all this comes in a nominal data. In ordinal data, we saw there are rank. So this nominal data and ordinal data are a type of quantitative analysis. So we are seeing statistics. The type, types of analysis done in the statistics. Let me type it here. Types of analysis. And in qualitative is divided into discrete and continuous. This is actually qualitative. I'm very wrong. This is qualitative and this is quantitative. Quantitative, from the name itself, you can understand it's regarding the quantity. Okay. So here you have discrete and here you have continuous. So we saw that day what is the difference between discrete data and the continuous data. In continuous data, you don't have any fixed value. In discrete data, you will have fixed value. Let me give you an example. Suppose a weight of a person, where you can't define a weight of a person. You don't have a fixed value. You will be getting a different value every time whenever you stand in a weighting machine. Right? So there will be infinite number of possibilities there. So that comes under continuous data. In discrete data, you will be having fixed number of students. I mean, fixed number, you can say, fixed data. Suppose number of students in a class, that is fixed, right? You can't change it. So that is a discrete value or it's discrete data. So types of analysis, we have qualitative and we have quantitative. The quantity relates to discrete data and continuous data, and qualitative, it is divided into nominal data and ordinal data. Categories in statistics. So in categories, we saw we have two categories, that is descriptive and you had inferential, you can say, yes. So in descriptive statistics, here you have to describe about the data. Here we describe about the data. So how to describe? We used to get the mode and we used to get the mean, and here we used to get the median. So we saw, right? Descriptive is divided into two parts, which is measure of center and you have measure of spread. And you have measure of spread. So this all comes under measure of center. And in measure of spread, we saw standard mean, range, and all. We have range, we have standard deviation, and we have variance. So I told you about what is range, what is standard deviation, what is variance, and here we studied what is mode, what is mean, and what is median. So now we will see what is inferential statistics. So in descriptive statistics, we saw how to describe about the data, and now we will see what is inferential. Let me create one file. I will start with the measure of spread now. So I will tell you the formula for range. So range, we saw it was maximum minus minimum. Okay, maximum value minus the minimum value. So that is the range. And we saw IQR also that day. If you don't remember, let me remind you. It is Q1 minus Q3. You should divide it in quartiles, right? Suppose we have data 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8. So we will divide it in quartiles. Quartiles mean four parts, you can say. That is what a quartile means, right? This is Q1, and this is Q3, and this is Q2. So IQR formula is Q1 minus Q3. So this is the interquartile range. You will see the formula for variance. The variance formula is 1 by n. This sigma square is defined with variance. I mean, this is how variance is defined. And sigma you will take from I is equal to 0 to number of observation. And then we have xi minus mu whole square. So this was the formula of variance. And standard deviation is represented using sigma. So this is the same formula here. Variance is represented as sigma square. Here it is represented as sigma. So if you move this square to here, it will become a square root, right? So it will become a square root of this formula. So this is the formula for standard deviation. Now we will see what is inferential statistics. So statisticians use hypothesis testing to formally check whether the hypothesis is accepted or rejected. So inferential statistics, we infer from the data. What can be inferred from the data? Okay, let me give you a small example. Suppose there is a pharmaceutical company. So in that pharmaceutical company, they are actually providing some kind of medication, and that medication in the all over the country, it was a medication for all over the country. So in all over the country, suppose 20% of the people are and suppose they want to launch a new drug with the same medication, but with a better medication, you can say, with the same features, with a better medication. So when it launches, so that will be considered as that will they will assume like 20% of the person from this country are using their product, so 20% of the person will definitely use this product also, right? So before getting an output, whatever assumption they are doing, whatever inferences they are taking, that is known as hypothesis. We do a hypothesis testing to check whether whatever hypothesis we are creating is correct or not. So hypothesis testing is conducted in some manner, in some process you can say. So in the first process, suppose here you will state the hypothesis. So state the hypothesis means hypothesis is actually divided into two parts, H naught and HA. So H naught is actually null hypothesis. HA is alternate hypothesis. So null hypothesis is something which is null, right? In computer language, you might be knowing null. Null is zero. Might have studied this, right? Null is equals to zero. So null hypothesis is something where you are doing actually an assumption. I will give you an example of a question, then you will be able to understand more on what is hypothesis testing and all of those things. So let me tell you what is the manner of hypothesis testing is done. So here you will define the null hypothesis and the alternate hypothesis, and in the second step, you will analyze the sample data. What I am doing in this part, do a survey. Suppose a pharmaceutical company is want to check how many of my how many customers do I have in this country. So they can't go to every home and check, right? Who is using my medicines and who are not using my medicines. So what they will do, they will take a sample. Like the country will be considered as a population, right? I told you the source where we are taking the data that is known as population. So they will take a sample. They will take a sample out, and in that sample, they will take a survey and they will get to know who are using my medications and who are not. Okay? So testing is always done in a sample, not in a population. After analyzing the sample data, you will actually interpret the result. So here you will get to know we are actually taking a null hypothesis and we are taking a alternate hypothesis. So null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis is actually opposite to each other. So only one time at once we will getting only one result.